What's up, everyone? This is your host, Ghost, coming to you live with another wonderful video. How is everyone doing today? Doing well myself. Sorry, do something real quick. There we go. All right. All right. Today's Thursday. It's a good day, I suppose. Got a few things we're going to talk about. Just a few. We're gonna check out some stuff on Biden. Democrats are abandoning Biden. Um, high ranking from celebrities, all that stuff. There's a bunch of people just banning Joe Biden after the debates. It's not looking good for old Joe. So we're gonna check out some of that stuff, see some clips, read a few articles, and then we're gonna get into the Parkinson's rumor that it's been floating around as what the White House corrects the record on it. Or I think, based on the title, they basically admit to Biden seeing a Parkinson's specialist, which means obviously would, you know, should clearly mean that he was checked out for Parkinson's. Whether they'll admit whether he has it or not, who knows. But we're gonna check that out, and then we're gonna go over to AOC. She has just introduced articles of impeachment for Justice Thomas and Alito. This is clearly a political stunt. One, because you're not going to get anything. They haven't done anything egregious enough that would warrant an impeachment that Republicans would go along with. So I doubt anything's going to come of it. But she's filed it anyways for political points. And then, speaking of political points, the House just passed legislation requiring proof of U.S. citizenship for voters for voter registration. This is the SAVE Act. And, majority of Democrats voted against it. Again, this is also more than likely a political stunt, as I highly doubt it's going to pass the Senate. Even though it's just saying, hey, you just need to prove that you're a U.S. citizen. That's all it's really saying. But they're gonna, it's not gonna get passed in the Senate. I guarantee it. But we'll see. So before we get into anything, let's do a little housekeeping. Follow me on X at officialwghost. That's the best way to find out when I go live and what I am up to. You could also watch me live if you choose to. Then you can go to Rumble and follow me there and rumble.com/withghost. YouTube is youtube.com/at with Ghost, twitch.tv/official with Ghost. And then, of course, I have my gaming channel. For Rumble, it's Gaming with Ghost, and YouTube, it's at Official Gaming with Ghost. So those are your various options. You can also go in the description and follow the links. That's where I have all my links there, so you can always, if you want to just click on that. But wherever you're watching me, please go on to Rumble. Follow me on Rumble. That'd be most appreciated. As Rumble is the last bastion of free speech. And we have, I'm at 49 followers on Rumble, and I would appreciate if you can get 50 more or 11 more. Not 11. What, 41 more? 51 more. 51 more. I can maths. It'd be great. So yeah. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go and show a clip. This is from 7 years ago. Okay. So this is from 7 years ago. It's gonna show Biden speaking, and we're gonna see if Biden stutters when he speaks. Okay. Just to try and eliminate this whole stuttering nonsense that they keep trying to dole out. Okay, here we go.
Not only do we have the largest economy in the world, we have the strongest economy.
So this was 7 years ago, all right? Now just compare this to how Biden was in the debates.
In the world, we have the most productive workers in the world, and given a fair shot, given a fair chance, Americans have never, ever, ever, ever let their country down. Never. Never. Ordinary people like us who do extraordinary things. We've had candidates before who attempted to get elected by appealing to our fears, but they've never succeeded because we do not scare.
Do you see him? Okay, this was 7 years ago. Do you see this energy he has? Okay. You see this? Just pay attention to this. This was Biden 7 years ago.
Easily. We never bow. We never bend. We never break when confronted with crisis. No, we endure. We overcome. And we always, always, always move forward. That's why I can say with absolute conviction, I am more optimistic about our chances today than when I was elected as a 29-year-old kid to the Senate. The 21st century is going to be the American.
So this was Biden 7 years ago, back when he was vice president. All right. Now let's check out Biden today. So we're going to fast forward 7 years from there to the present. This was Biden during the debates.
What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example,
now just look at him. Look how old he is. Okay.
Yeah.
Now listen to his voice. Okay. Listen to his voice.
Billionaires in America. I mean,
but don't forget, this was just him having a cold, people. All right, nothing to see here, just a cold.
Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death. And
so there we go. This is Biden 81. We just watched. Oh, sorry about that. And what we saw 7 years ago was Biden at 74. So this is how he is at 81. At 74, he had a lot more energy. He was more full of life, it seemed. He was passionate. He could, scream and shout and show that passion. Now look how he is now. You can see why the Democrats are scared shitless. Okay? You can really see it. They're terrified. They're terrified because they're abandoning Joe in droves. By abandoning, I mean they're, saying, hey, step down for the good of the country, blah, 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 blah. And all that. But can you just look at the vast difference we had? That was, I just showed a clip of Biden at 74. He was energetic, he was screaming, shouting. Okay, could you imagine Joe today trying to give us the speech he did when he was in vice president? Nothing. He's got no energy there. He's got no energy. He's got no life. He's old, frail, and weak. That's what that's what people see when they think of Joe Biden. That's what I thought. Every single fucking time. I like Rumble Studios, but I also hate it because it's every single time you gotta go and change the category so you can put it on podcast so it can be correct. Fucking hell. And I always forget. All right, moving on. So gonna check out this article here on Democrats abandoning Joe. So Pelosi, Clooney, Democratic senators raise new doubts about Biden. Okay. So U.S. President Joe Biden faced fresh doubts on Wednesday about his re-election chances from heavyweights Nancy Pelosi and George Clooney, who may influence other Democratic lawmakers and financial donors and 2 Senate Democrats. Biden must decide quickly whether to stay in the 24 White House race. Former House Speaker Pelosi, a longtime Biden ally, said on MSNBC, while declining to say definitively that she wanted him to run. Hollywood star Clooney, a Democrat who co-hosted a star-studded fundraiser for Biden last month, withdrew his support with a damning opinion piece in the New York Times saying Biden was not the same man he was in 2020. Okay. Wow, look at that. Even celebrities are seeing the truth. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, meanwhile, has privately signaled he's open to a Democratic candidate other than Biden, according to Axios. Schumer, though, reiterated his support for Biden in a statement following the Axios report. Senator Peter Welch called for Biden to withdraw in an op-ed published late on Wednesday, the first Democratic senator to explicitly call for Biden to step down. One major donor says Democratic leaders had indicated they would issue statements of concerns after the NATO summit, but did not mention Schumer by name. It's going to be a bloodbath, the sources said, citing growing anger among lawmakers and donors, as well as growing pressure on down-ballot candidates. The abandoned Biden campaign, which has opposed Biden's candidacy over his handling of the Israeli-Gaza war, on Wednesday urged all Americans to call for Biden to step aside, saying it also has no delusion about Trump and his culture of hate. Pelosi marks, which ignored Biden's repeated insistence he's staying in the race, appear to be a harbinger of a fresh wave of calls from fellow Democrats to exit the race. In nearly 2 weeks, the 81-year-old Biden has sought to stem defection by Democratic lawmakers, donors, and other allies. He's worried he might lose the November 5th vote to Republican Donald Trump, 78, after his halting June 27th debate performance. The president has said he had a bad night on the debate, insisting he will stay in the race and defeat Trump. Pelosi said on MSNBC she was encouraging colleagues on Capitol Hill with concerns about Biden to refrain them from airing them while he hosts NATO leaders in Washington this week. I said to everyone, let's just hold off. Whatever you're thinking, either tell someone privately, but you don't have to put it out on the table until we see how we go this week. She said, describing Biden's strong remarks at the NATO summit and on Tuesday as spectacular. Declining to say definitively that she wanted Biden to run, I want him to do whatever he decides to do. She said, we're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. Democratic campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon and senior advisor Mike Donilon and Steve Ricchetti will brief Senate Democrats at a lunch on Thursday, Biden's campaign said. As to comment on Pelosi's remarks and George and Clooney's article, Biden's campaign pointed to a letter he sent to Democrats in Congress saying he was firmly committed to stay in the race and beating Trump. Asked at the NATO summit whether he still has Pelosi's support, Biden responded by raising triumphant fist. Okay. Other Democrats echoed Pelosi on Wednesday, however, suggesting Biden's efforts to quell dissent within his party had not succeeded. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal said he was deeply concerned about Biden's ability to win the race. In Dallas, Vice President Kamala Harris, the party's frontrunner to replace Biden if he were to step aside as the Democratic candidate, spoke to a group of some 19,000 people at an event of the historical Black Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. The election is the most existential and consequential of our lifetimes, said to a crowd that chanted 4 more years. Look, Kamala Harris is even less popular than fucking Biden. So, yeah, go ahead, put Kamala on the ticket. That's a good idea. And in his opinion piece, Clooney wrote, it's devastating to say, but the Joe Biden I was with 3 weeks ago at a fundraiser was not the Joe big effing deal Biden of 2010. He wasn't even Joe Biden of 2020. He was the same man we all witnessed in the debate. We're not going to win in December with this president. On top of that, we won't win the House, and we're going to lose the Senate. Doesn't really matter. Republicans never have the guts to do anything anyways. Democrats in Congress remain deeply divided on whether to fall in line behind Biden or urge him to step aside because of the persistent questions about his health and acuity. U.S. Representative Earl Blumenauer on Wednesday became the 9th Democrat of the House of Representatives to call for the president to end his reelection. Public defections remain a small segment of the 213 Democratic-aligned House members, and the party leadership has continued to back Biden publicly. No Senate Democrat has broken ranks until Welch op-ed on Wednesday, although Senator Michael Bennet of Colorado said on Tuesday he did not believe Biden could beat Trump. Biden, eager to change his story, has surrounded himself with committees of his staunch supporters, including black Democratic lawmakers and voters. His campaign was framed sticking with Biden as a return of the loyalty he has shown them through his half-century of public life. Biden was greeted with raucous applause when he met on Wednesday with a group of labor leaders, an important part of his political base, joining an AFL-CIO executive council meeting in Washington to discuss their shared commitments to defeat Donald Trump, the campaign said. Biden listed high rents, expensive groceries, and lack of housing as issues to be tackled going forward. Labor votes helped Biden defeat Trump in competitive states, including Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania in 2020. So there we are. So even Democratic leadership or Democratic lawmakers are saying, "Hey, Biden, you need to stop." All right. So this is the clip with Maxine Waters on CNN. Let's see what she had to say.
They've seen President Biden. They've lived through his presidency. They've also seen former President Trump. They've lived through his presidency. They've heard these arguments about democracy, about the fate of the election. And yet Trump is not only winning, but winning increasingly by a larger margin. So what is the plan
What the fuck is she
among
doing?
Democrats
Don't even fuck with my hair right now.
to change that trajectory? It sounds like you're talking about saying and doing all the same things, but do you believe that something needs to change?
I think we need to keep working.
They've
I'm sorry. I thought she would actually say something useful. You just start fucking with her hair. God, that's an ugly woman. All right. Well, this guy should have something to say. It wasn't an easy decision. Right now, we're on a path of losing. This is a Democrat of Massachusetts, I think, calling Biden to exit the presidential race.
I have a very personal relationship with the president, and it was a hard decision to get to this point of speaking out publicly. What I did first was speak to people in private, have conversations with the White House. But when over a course of several days, that didn't seem to be going anywhere, I felt it was important to be honest with my constituents, with people who are asking for what my opinion was. But it wasn't an easy decision. And I know a lot of my colleagues are struggling with that right now. We don't want any negative consequences going forward. But the reality, as Senator Bennett said, is that right now we're on a path to losing. And when your strategy isn't working, you can't just double down on the strategy. You have to change your strategy. That's what we need right now at the top of the Democratic ticket. I have a very personal relationship with the president.
As you can see, a lot of Democrats are just abandoning because they understand that Biden isn't a good, he's not like, even if it's not about, even if they only care about winning, stuff like that, it shows that Biden's losing. He's lost, any faith. And he said he'll debate again. And I hope Trump takes it seriously. Because for all we know, they're going to find the right cocktail of drugs and get them situated and be able to actually do decent next time around. Who knows? But I hope Trump takes it seriously, and this takes the opportunity just to continue to show why this guy, the president, isn't fit to lead, and we should reelect Donald Trump. Let's see. Oh, let's see. So let's see. Polls. So they got Trump only winning by 3 points at currently. So the next debate takes place in September. Yeah, so Tuesday, September 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Looks like was it ABC? Yeah, ABC News will host. Yeah, so they only agreed to 2. So this next one is going to be it. So we'll see. Let's see. The RNC convention is the Republican National Convention is next week, and I think the conventions are where they solidify the nominees. So we'll see what happens because the DNC isn't till August. And another thing that's going for Trump is since the immunity ruling from the Supreme Court, he's had his sentencing pushed back. Can't remember when. Trump's push. Yeah, it's delayed till September 18th, which is going to be after the second presidential debate, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So it takes place 8 days after the presidential debate. So we'll see what happens. All right, moving on. So I mean, it's just very telling that the Democratic Party itself, is already abandoning Biden. And the reason Biden has so many points is just people really don't like Trump. Like if this was anyone else but Trump, Biden be losing massively. All we have here is Trump derangement syndrome from the left, and it's ridiculous. Like if you really, if you're obviously seeing that Biden's like a bad idea, then go vote for. But you don't like Trump, then go vote for the Independent or Libertarian Party. Okay, go vote for them or the Independent at least. But why are you voting for it just shows like, look, I understand you really don't like Trump. That's fine. But go vote for someone else. Don't vote for Biden just because you don't like Trump. You should be getting behind the Independent or even the Libertarian. All right. So White House corrects record on Biden's physician Parkinson's expert meeting. Says it was for President care. So the White House is playing cleanup after Press Secretary Karen Jean-Pierre told reporters Tuesday that a meeting between White House physician Devin O'Connor and Devin Kennard, a renowned neurological and partisan disease expert, was not related to the care for the president. The White House now says that the January 17th meeting between O'Connor and Kennard at the White House was for a neurological exam for Biden, the results of which were later reported as part of his annual physical more than a month later. O'Connor reported the results on February 28th, saying that an extremely detailed neurological exam did not show Biden had signs of Parkinson's or any cerebellar or other central neurological disorder. On Tuesday, White House press briefing, a reporter from the Associated Press asked for clarification on a letter sent Monday night by O'Connor. I didn't seem to explicitly describe the nature of Kennard's meeting with Dr. O'Connor. So can you say whether that one meeting was related for the president himself? A reporter asked. I can say that it was not, Jean-Pierre said. Jean-Pierre insisted she had already confirmed from behind this lectern that 3 meetings occurred, and the doctor was a neurologist. Fucking hell. Though not Kennard's name until O'Connor released it Monday. Jean-Pierre said she needed permission from Kennard and also from the president before putting that information out. And the reason why is because we do not share private information. This is something that we respect. And we wanted to make sure that we protect our consultants here at that work with the White House Medical Unit, their security as well. She told reporters, for the podium Tuesday. In a later statement, Jean-Pierre said this question did not mention the date, which apparently caused her confusion. However, the question was about the meeting between O'Connor and Kennard, and according to visitor logs, it was the only meeting between the two between July of 23 and this past March, a period that's come under scrutiny because Kennard had visited the White House 8 times in that time frame. The other 7 visits by Kennard have Megan Nashworthy listed as the visitee. Because the date was not mentioned in the question, I want to be clear that January 17th meeting between Dr. O'Connor and Dr. Kennard was for the president's physical. It was one of the 3 times the president has seen Dr. Kennard, each time for his physical. The findings from each exam has been released to the public, the statement said. Fox News is told Jean-Pierre proactively followed up with the AP to volunteer the information. Statement is not the first time that in days following Biden's debate debacle, which triggered around concerns about the 81-year-old president's fitness to serve, and the White House has had to clarify answers to questions about the president's health. Last week, Jean-Pierre said Biden did not get checked out by the doctor for a cold that was noticeable. Like the cope, the insane cope they have to do. Like Biden did not have a cold yesterday. He didn't have a cold yesterday. It's so funny. Oh man, it's so funny with this cope. So funny. Okay. However, Biden later said in a private meeting, excuse me, with Democratic governors that he had been checked out by his doctor after the debate concluded. Jean-Pierre said she meant Biden did not get a full medical exam and that the president did indeed have a check-in with his doctor, which he does a couple times a week. Do you really want a president that has to be checked out by his doctor a couple times a week? Come on. It is funny, though, that Pierre is really trying to cover up these health concerns. She just ends up not making it worse. Because even if, what she says is true and everything's fine, just the fact that it looks like she was covering and trying to hide something makes it look bad. Additionally, on Monday, the White House released a statement from O'Connor describing the nature of Kennard's visit to the White House after Jean-Pierre earlier in the day declined to confirm the name of the doctor or say why he was going to the White House. It also confirmed that Kennard has been a neurologist who examined Biden in his 3 physicals during his presidency. Jean-Pierre contended on Tuesday that that a lot of things I said right here in this briefing room were later restated in a letter from O'Connor on Monday night. Still, Jean-Pierre said this week she and the other White House press aides are doing our best in this briefing to provide information that we have. Sometimes I will be the first to admit it. Sometimes I get it wrong. At least I admit that. And sometimes I don't have the information. I will always admit that. Jean-Pierre clarification also shows how part of the president's annual physical, which is generally conducted at Walter Reed, can be performed over a longer period rather than just one day at the suburban Maryland hospital. When O'Connor released the results of Biden's physical on February 28th, he wrote that an extremely detailed neurological exam was again reassuring that there was no finding which would be consistent with any cerebral and other central neurological disorders such as a stroke, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, or ascending lateral sclerosis. Nor are there any signs of cervical myelopathy. A letter has not stated when the neurological exam had been conducted or where it took place. The repeated presence of Kennard in the White House visitor logs also attract attention because of the doctor's expertise in movement disorders such as Parkinson's disease. However, Jean-Pierre definitively said this week that Biden has not been treated for Parkinson's disease, nor is he being treated currently or taking any medication for it. Kennard has been the neurological consultant to the White House Medical Unit for a dozen years. O'Connor said also in a letter released Monday night that Kennard had held regular neurology clinics at the White House in support of thousands of active duty. Active duty members assigned in support of White House operations. So there we are. So I just want to do something. So these are typical signs. Okay. Tremors, trembling of the hands, arms, legs, jaw, or face. Stiffness in the arms, legs, and trunk. I assume that means body. Slowness of movement, poor balance, coordination, speech difficulty. So, let's just check out Biden, how Biden works in it. He's very slowness of movement, absolutely. Poor balance and coordination, absolutely. He's fallen several times. Speech difficulties, well, that's pretty obvious. He does have a lot of speech difficulties. Stiffness of arms, legs, and trunk. I mean, he seems very stiff when he's walking. So, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 of the symptoms. Okay. The only thing we don't really have, or at least we haven't seen, is tremors, trembling of hands, arms, legs, jaw, and face. If we saw that, everything else we have seen. When he walks, he seems very stiff when he walks. He's very slow as well with his movements. He's at his poor balance. He needed help getting down the stage by his wife. We've seen him fall while just standing. We've seen him fall going upstairs. Speech difficulty, well, that's pretty obvious. So, it may very well be he doesn't have Parkinson's, but, to the rest of the American public, people are seeing this and like, are you sure? Are you sure? I think he might. And even if he doesn't have Parkinson's, he has something. Something is going off with the president, whether it's old age or something like that. It's not something that he doesn't instill confidence as being a leader of the United States. And that's what we really need to be focused on. All right, so Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez moves to impeach Supreme Court justice over alleged corruption. There's only alleged. There's no actual proof. Let's be honest. But even moving forward, again, as I said, this impeachment here is a political stunt. There's no way it's going to pass the House, let alone, so it's not even going to get to the Senate, as much as they might wish. So that's just ridiculous. All right, so AOC introduced articles of impeachment Wednesday against Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, citing a pattern of alleged ethical violations. Ocasio-Cortez argued that both justices repeatedly failed to recuse themselves from cases involving financial or personal conflicts of interest compromising the court's integrity. The unchecked corruption crisis on the Supreme Court has now spiraled into a constitutional crisis threatening American democracy writ large. Today, I introduced articles of impeachment against Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. I'm going to read her full. Well, let me check this out. All right, let's read her full statement. So the unchecked corruption crisis on the Supreme Court has now spiraled into a constitutional crisis. I already read that part. So Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito pattern of recuse from consequential matters before the court, in which they hold widely documented financial and personal entanglements, constitute a grave threat to American rule of law, the integrity of our democracy. One of the clearest cases for which the tools of impeachment was designed. The Constitution of the United States explicitly outlines a high standard of conduct for the judiciary meetings, far surpassing its existing bar on treason, bribery, and other high crimes and misdemeanor for all civil officers. The standards of good behavior, judicial ethics, and rules to which even the lowest judge are held make those standards clear. The lifetime appointments of Supreme Justice makes enforcement of these standards a solemn responsibility for the protection of our democracy. Justice Thomas and Alito repeated failure over the decades to disclose that they've received millions of dollars in gifts from individuals with business before the court is explicitly against the law, and their refusal to recuse from the specific matter in cases before the court is in which their beneficiaries and spouses are implicated represent nothing less than a constitutional crisis. These failures alone would amount to a deep transgression worthy of standard removal in any lower court and would disqualify any nominee to the highest court from the confirmation in the first place. Given that the court's demonstrated inability to preserve its own legitimate conduct, it is incumbent upon Congress to contain the threat this poses to our democracy and the hundreds of millions of Americans harmed by the crisis of corruption unfurled within the court. The court has a legal, moral, and democratic obligation to impeach, she continued. The first impeachment resolution includes the following impeachment articles against Justice Thomas: failure to disclose financial incomes, gifts, and reimbursements, property interests, liabilities, and transactions, among other information. Refusal to recuse from matters concerning a spouse's legal interest in a case before the court. Which legal case is that? Legal interest in the case. Which case? AOC. Refusal to recuse from matters involving his spouse's financial interests in case before the court. Okay, again, which one? Also, you gotta have to prove that you gotta show proof of at least two things here. All right, one, that whatever decision Thomas made wouldn't have been something he already made. So, like, if I bribe you to walk down the street and you're already gonna walk down the street, is that really a bribe? I'm just really paying you for what you're already gonna do. Okay. Well, let's say it is a bribe. Then you're going to have to prove that whatever case she's talking about actually benefited his spouse in some sort of way here. Like what benefit did his spouse get? What benefit did his wife get from whatever case she's talking about here? And you're going to have to show that was, his thought process when ruling here. Okay. Because for all we know, his wife and him live, separate lives. And you're going to have to connect the two. So if she's doing something and he really doesn't talk to her about it, or she doesn't know, or blah, 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 they don't discuss it. There's no real way to show or prove that, whatever she wanted, she influenced him to rule. And again, you're going to have to show that it wouldn't be something he normally ruled. Like, so he's a conservative, and say, he's a conservative. And you just have to show that this particular case, he went against how he normally rules. That's an important distinction in action here. All right, for the second impeachment resolution follows the impeachment articles against Justice Alito. Refusal to recuse from cases in which he had a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party in the cases before the court, and then the same with the failure to disclose financial income. Congresswoman maintains that such conduct, while under a judicial oath to faithfully and impartially discharge and perform duties and a constitutional oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, warrants impeachment, trial, removal from office, and disqualification from holding future office in the United States. And I guess this is all the shit they did before. So on June 11th of 24, Ocasio-Cortez and Raskin hosted an oversight roundtable with expert panelists and legislators, including White House Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, Democratic for Rhode Island, entitled "High Court, Low Standards and Dark Money: Flagging a Supreme Court Ethics Crisis in America," to examine corruption on the court. On June 20th, they wrote a letter to Chief Justice Roberts to learn what immediate actions he would take to restore public trust in the court amid several ethical conflicts. Additionally, on June 5th, lawmakers introduced the High Court Gift Ban Act to prohibit justices from receiving gifts valued at more than $50, bringing them in line with members of Congress and other federal office officials. Here's the thing, though. They don't have any power over the court to do any of this. So if the court says, even if they ban this and the court says, yeah, we're not going to follow this, there's no mechanism for them to actually do anything about it. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter because the legislative branch does not have that power over the court. The only power they have over the court is impeachment. That's what's lined out in the Constitution. So whatever they say, oh, I want to do this, doesn't really do fuck at all. All right. Now let's see what MSNBC has to say about this.
Just minutes ago, we got breaking news that Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has officially filed articles of impeachment against Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. That comes just after Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and Ron Wyden made a formal request to DOJ. They want A special counsel appointed to criminally investigate Supreme Court Justice Thomas for accepting travel and the loan of a luxury car from wealthy donor friends. NBC's Ryan Noble still with us on Capitol Hill, MSNBC legal correspondent.
Again, they don't have any power over the courts. They don't.
Lisa Rubin is here with me. Okay, Ryan, what do we know about these impeachment articles? I know this story just broke. What happens next?
So this comes from, as you rightly point out, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez from New York City, and she's filed 2 articles of impeachment against Justice Samuel Alito and Justice Clarence Thomas. And these articles of impeachment are not based in any of the decisions that either of these 2 justices have made, but instead specifically about their conduct around the office. For instance, in both Thomas and Alito's case, she is accusing them of not properly disclosing financial benefits and gifts that they were given by donors and others, and in some cases, people that had business before the court or even had a vested interest, a political interest in some of the issues before the court. And she's also doing that in the case of Clarence Thomas, saying that he refused to recuse himself from certain cases that his spouse had a vested interest in as well. His wife, Ginny Thomas, of course, was very much involved in the Stop the Steal effort, the efforts to overturn the 2020 election and things along those lines. Also, she is accusing Justice Alito as well of refusing to recuse himself from certain cases of which he may have a conflict of interest. So these are very specific accusations that Ocasio-Cortez is leveling against these 2 Supreme Court justices. It comes at a time where Democrats are getting increasingly frustrated about the direction of the court. Obviously,
Translation, well, they didn't rule how we wanted them to rule.
The decisions that this court has rendered over the past couple of months, but also the conduct of these Supreme Court justices and the lack of oversight that they apparently seem to have without any kind of specific code of ethics that they must follow.
Oh, man. All right. So we're going to actually check out her actually introducing the articles of impeachment. Let's see what she has to say.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to introduce articles of impeachment against Associate Justices of the Supreme Court, Clarence Thomas and Samuel Anthony Alito, Jr. Against Justice Thomas, the resolution includes 3 total articles. 1 count of failure to disclose financial income, gifts, reimbursements, property interest liabilities, and transactions, among other information, and 2 counts of refusal to recuse from matters concerning his spouse's legal and financial interests before the court. The second resolution includes the following impeachment articles against Justice Alito. 1 count of refusal to recuse from cases in which he had a personal bias or prejudice concerning a party before the court, and 1 count of failure to disclose financial incomes, gifts, reimbursements, property interests, among other information. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So there you go. That's what she's doing. Oh, man. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay. Like I said, this is a political stunt. She knows she has no hope of actually getting this impeachment done at all. There's no way any Republicans are going to jump across the aisle to impeach these Supreme Court justices. I'm sure you might get a few, but it's not going to be enough to actually go forward with the impeachment. It's a pure political stunt, nothing more. All right. So again, speaking about another political stunt, the House just passed the voter registration eligibility. They got 206. They got 221 yay, and 198 nay, and 198 come from Democratic Party. Basically, the SAFE Act is, just requiring proof of U.S. citizenship to register to vote. And Democrats voted against it for whatever reason. Apparently, I'm sure they'll say it's racist to do something. House Republicans and a handful of Democrats, five. Okay, it's 5. Passed legislation on Wednesday requiring proof of U.S. citizenship in order to vote. a top GOP priority that the Democratic leadership strongly opposed. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility SAFE Act was supported by 216 Republicans and 5 Democrats, with 198 Democratic lawmakers opposing the bill. It's unlikely to go anywhere in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Again, a purely political stunt. Now, here's the thing. If they win back the House and the Senate this term, will they do anything about it? No, they won't. They're doing it now, and then they're like, oh, we tried. Can't you see? Oh, we tried so hard. And then, when they actually have the ability to actually get something like this passed, to pass, they're not going to do anything about it. It's all going to happen. Hold on, there's something funny I just saw. But we'll finish this up and then we'll check it out. Republicans have warned of legal immigrants potentially registering to vote and casting ballots in national elections this year. Although documented proof of citizenship is not required for federal voter registration form, it is illegal to falsify claims oneself is to be a U.S. citizen. Yeah, but if you don't have any requirements to register, like to prove your citizenship, is it like just because it's legal? What's going to stop it from actually happening? Non-citizen voting is not a widely documented phenomenon, but some deep blue locals have passed laws permitting it. The left-wing Brendan Carter found 30 suspected cases of non-citizens voting out of 23.5 million votes across 42 jurisdictions in the 2016 election. So that's what he saw. Over the past 4 years, Joe Biden has welcomed millions upon millions of illegals in the country, knowing that non-citizens only have to check a box to vote in a federal election. Basically, what he's saying is all we got right here, all right, is illegal immigrants' word that they're not going to go into the ballot box and say, yes, I'm a U.S. citizen and vote. That's all we got. Now, illegal immigrants, their word isn't really meant for shit because they've already crossed in illegally. We have long known this was an intentional effort to turn them into voters, and now the American people know where every member of Congress stands on this critically important issue. Here's the thing, though. Like for Democrats, like how is this a win for you guys not to vote for? Like what harm is there to vote? To vote against this? Like seriously, like what? Like how is this a bad thing to vote against? That's what I'm trying to understand. Like I understand when it's something that like, hey, it's I don't like blah blah blah, but like what can you say? Like how is it incorrect to have to prove your citizenship to vote? Like what's the actual genuine argument? It's probably something racist, like black people aren't able to bring their birth certificate or something like shit. Johnson office published a report in June making the case for the SAFE Act. And documents cites a 2014 study that apparently found non-citizens vote in 2008 and 2010 elections, a loophole in the National Voter Registration Act of 93, and Biden's administration refusal to enforce immigration law could potentially allow non-citizens to vote, the white paper warns. Record levels of border crossing under Biden and a string of high-profile violent crimes by illegal immigrants have raised the immigration issue to the top of voters' mind. Biden consistently polls poorly on the issue compared with his 24 rival, former President Trump, who backed the SAFE Act and urged Republicans to vote for it on Wednesday. They should pass the SAFE Act immediately to stop illegals from voting in our elections. Republicans must get tough through about stopping weaponization and cheating, Trump said on Truth Social. Before the vote, the House Democratic leadership urged members to vote no on the SAFE Act. Democrats have suggested the SAFE Act would be burdensome for millions of Americans and dismiss the possibility of non-citizen voting in federal elections. Across the board, Democrats oppose voter ID requirements, arguing that these measures are racist towards black voters. And they make this argument while also being extremely racist against black people. And it's hilarious. So like it would be burdensome for millions of Americans. Then should they really be voting? If it's too burdensome to be able to prove your US citizenship, should you really be voting? Like let's let's be honest. Like, if it's too burdensome to prove you're a citizen, then wouldn't you just not want them to vote then? The bill would do nothing to safeguard elections, but it would make it much harder for eligible Americans to vote, increase the risk that eligible voters are purged from the voter rolls. Really? What? How hard is it to prove your citizenship? You really just need, your green is it green card for immigrants? You would just need your green card, and you would need your birth certificate, which a lot of jobs require. So I mean, that's all. That's burdensome. And again, if it's too burdensome, too much of a hassle for them to prove their citizenship, then do you really want them voting? Okay. The evidence is clear that the current laws to prevent non-citizen voting are working as intended. It's extraordinarily rare for a non-citizen to break the law by voting in federal elections. So, it's just ridiculous. Look, your argument is that it's too hard for people to be able to vote, to be able to register. It would be too hard. Then do you really need these people voting? Like, if it's too hard to go and share their birth certificate with an official to if it's too hard, then why should we vote? Like, honestly, real question here. Honestly. It's like the thinking is just ridiculous at this point. All right, we got one last thing, and this is kind of funny. This is CNN by. All right. So apparently, this is Biden campaign comparing Clooney and Biden. So let's listen here.
And in response to those comments from George Clooney, Jake, a campaign official who attended that Los Angeles fundraiser tells me that George Clooney left 3 hours before the president. So clearly, the gloves are off. Jake.
What does that mean that George Clooney left 3 hours? What's the point?
The point of that is to suggest that Biden's stamina is better than Clooney's, and Clooney didn't have eyes on the entire event. That's the response to the Clooney op-ed.
Okay, Kayla Kashi, thanks so much.
So even Jake Tapper's like, so? Oh, he left early. So maybe Clooney had something else to do. Like, just because he stayed for a few extra hours is doesn't fucking matter. That doesn't fucking matter to people. Oh, you stayed a few fucking hours. That's great. Like, who the fuck cares? Like, oh my God, who the hell cares? It's so fucking stupid. It's ridiculous. It's really stupid, and it's funny. All right, that's all we got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you give it a like and a follow and all that wonderfulness. Oh, man. We'll be back here tomorrow doing our regular show at a regular time. All right. I want you to think about this. Like, look at this political stunts that is going on with our politics. All right. We got AOC introducing articles of impeachment. Nothing, there's no meat on it. There's no sign of actual real corruption. They got a few gifts here and there. Oh well, unless you can prove that there's some actual corruption going on, doesn't fucking matter. And then we got the Republicans, passing the SAVE Act. They know it's not going to pass in the Senate. Okay, and I guarantee if they win back the House and the Senate this year, this election cycle, I mean. They're not gonna go forth and put this through again, and they won't get it. They won't do anything about it. It's just pure political stunt. I agree the SAVE Act would be great. I think they should go higher and do voter ID laws, but they never did anything when they had the House and the Senate before. So they're not going to do anything now. This is just a pure political stunt to be able to go and blame the Democrats for doing wrong. That's all it is. So it doesn't really matter. They're not going to do anything of real consequence. And then the people actually do something of real consequence, like the justices of the court, they want to impeach them. The fuck is this bullshit? What can you do? I hope you guys enjoy the video, like I said, and give it a like and give me a follow on Rumble and YouTube, wherever you're watching. I hope you have a good day. Peace out, and I will see you later. Peace.